Ben, you should get in here. I haven't, I haven't seen Fen in the fray. But really, thanks everybody for coming out today and chilling with us. Millie throwing down the gauntlet.
Peer pressure, peer pressure.
Peer pressure. Also, now we get to find out if Fen actually has Steamhounds installed in his computer. I'm not calling you out. It's fine. Don't worry about it. That's it. That's a good thing. I like that. Are you on your desktop? That's the question, though. Are you on your phone right now, Ben? Once, long ago, we had a mobile version of this game.
Back when it was called Pixel Raiders.
Back when it was called Pixel Raiders. We did have... Did we ever get that pushed to mobile? I think... Did we? I have a memory of maybe having it on my phone for some reason at one point, but I don't think that's real.
Yeah, it was Android. It was Android only. I don't know if you're an Android person.
Yeah. I remember doing... I definitely remember... Yeah, okay, I'm not crazy then. We definitely did have the the mobile port functioning.
Yeah, that was way before it was called Steamhounds, I think, and...
Oh yeah, that was yeah. Throwing names into a hat. We got there though.
Yeah.
Alright, sweet. Both of you are in there. Let me know when you're both in there. And then we'll switch on over. Sweet,
And
alright. Now I have to go in. These work? There we go. Lovely. Spectate, go. There we go. That's what we want. Nice. So some behind the scenes stuff right now. Working on some UI stuff pretty soon. Going through the lovely arduous task of actually cleaning up an Illustrator file, so that it can actually be worked out of. Because that's always the challenge. But pretty soon we're hopefully going to be
naming your layers, all of that stuff.
Yeah, well, I'm not calling anybody out, but I didn't make the Illustrator file, so. But for the sanity of everyone else who has to either work with this, or for my own sanity, the next step is actually cleaning that up so we can do some real stuff with it. I also know Photoshop a lot better than Illustrator, so having that cleaned up for me before I get my paws dirty in there is gonna be helpful on for me at least. Yeah, but then we get to do a lot of cool artistic direction stuff, and I'm very excited to get that rolling, because with any kind of game development, it doesn't 100% feel the way it should until literally everything is in.
Yeah. And
then it's like, wow, this looks like a real game here. And then it feels really good, and it's kind of an awesome feeling. So so far it's very promising. Every single piece of art that we get from any of our artists, it's like, yeah, this is cool. This is gonna be great.
Yeah, every little thing that gets integrated in just really improves things. Speaking of which, Fen, if you want to draw yourself an avatar, feel free.
We'll just, yeah, we'll get that in there.
So now we know Fen's favorite characters. Okay, that he worked on. It's the Circa,
Yep.
the Coet, and the Engineer.
Totally, there you go. I mean, who can't like the Berserker, especially the new version? Although I do have a very soft spot for the Chemist. I do like their design. Very cool.
Yeah, I think they're pinned to the top of our Twitter right now. Chemist design.
I mean, honestly, all of these designs and all of the pixel art for the characters that have been revealed so far and we're working on the background are amazing, absolutely amazing. When we first started out, I don't think I expected for the quality level, like the caliber of art, like to be that high, and it's absolutely incredible, or at least to me it is. I'm very excited to get all of this art in here, have it all interacting with each other and doing fun things, showing it off. But yeah, but as with anything art related, it takes a while. It takes a while to get everything together, so. So we've got not quite a mirror match here. We've got Malieve, she has that warrior. Fen does have the chemist there. Just saving the Berserker a little bit of health by pulling him back off. Very advanced strat.
That was a good move, I think, yeah.
Kind of a really good move, because what's going to happen here is the Berserker is now back into the row where either the warrior has to stay there, because if the warrior moves out of the way, then the engineer is going to take quite a pummeling pretty soon, I believe. Especially with the Berserker being able to, get in some tunnel vision strikes.
Yeah, we could do that. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, because I think it's such a dynamic move, and that amount of damage might be a little bit I don't know how I would say that, but discouraging to use it against your ally. There's definitely a good amount of utility to moving your allies around on a turn that is not theirs. But any kind of damage is important, so we can look into reducing that. Maybe have it do half as much or nothing at all.
I like the trade-off though as well. I like that it's counterintuitive, but it's still the right move sometimes.
Yeah, it definitely is. Sizing some stuff up right now, trying to figure out what target to go at. Definitely have that vigor on there, so it looks like we're going to use that up on that warrior. Paid a little bit of a price for that, but, warrior is kind of the linchpin of this strategy as of right now. Really protecting that engineer, who otherwise would have to levitate the entire time to stay in the fight.
I guess Fen moving out of harm's way from the debris there.
Getting in a very early deep cut, which is quite a problem for the Berserker right now. Down to 19 health, and going to be taking some bleed damage there for a while yet. Have some very exciting engineer turns coming up. This could get interesting depending on how close people are to that corrosive tile.
Yep. Yeah, terrain terrain changes stuff so much.
Absolutely everything. Terrain definitely changes quite a lot of stuff here. So I think that's one of the best additions to the game that we've done in a while. Hands down. Really shakes some stuff up.
Yeah. I mean, I think people like the Warwickses and Malieves of the world had pretty much solved the game. And now it's still, we're just not seeing the same level of dominant team comps and strats.
Yeah, it's complexity is a difficult beast because you want it to be complex enough so that it's not immediately obvious what the best choice is at any given time, but you want there to be a definite better choice and a worse choice around, so you feel like you're doing something correctly, or you feel like you've you understand what's going on enough in order to make like an informed choice. So yeah, it's a difficult thing, but I think right now a lot of this is dependent on how many terrain objects are on the field at once, how many different terrain objects are on the field at once, and where they're placed actually is a big limiting factor in the way that you can strategize on the battlefield. Where putting a terrain object in the exact middle tile is pretty limiting in a lot of strategies. So that might be worth more terrain objects on the field than, say, a terrain object put in like a corner somewhere.
Yeah. And then that varies kind of by team comp or by formation. Kind of results from team comp. Like, obviously, the warrior with the guard really wants to one character in front of the other, and so on.
Yes, yeah, definitely. And eventually, like, once we start designing a lot more of these battlefields, we'll get a good feel for like how disruptive different terrain objects are. And as with anything, we're gonna basically come up with our own system and shorthand for like their disruptive capability and how much they affect the battlefield. Like any game that has a system like that is highly customizable starts to form its own design language. And that'll be helpful for us later on down the line when we have to make a lot of these create variation. Whether or not that's a manual process or whether or not that can be, procedurally generated.
Yeah.
Yeah, Maliv, there's like different levels of strategy to this game. And that's what I think makes this game successful, or at least fun to play, is you can go into the fight with a strategy about how your team works together in order to do something interesting or overpowered or whatever you want to call it. But there is also a lot of in the moment kind of situational awareness and situational strategies that can really influence what you need to do at any given point in time. A lot of that has to do with positioning, and that also has to do with if you know your opponent is going to knock out one of your characters soon or sooner than another character, you'd be like, okay, how does that affect my strategy? Is everything going to fall apart if that single character goes away? So it's there's multiple levels here, and then once we get into that higher level of competitive play, eventually once we have more characters into the roster, we can have like a draft system, like a pick and ban kind of thing, and then that level, all the layers of strategy start laying on top of each other and can make for a really compelling match. So yeah, there's so much potential for this game in terms of strategy and counter strategy and et cetera. So
yeah, exactly.
I happen to like this game. Yeah, we just need more development time. That's all we need. But yeah, the goal for this is that people are going to be as jazzed about our single player systems as we are about the player system and the actual combat. That's kind of the main test, which is, can we have like a very cohesive single player experience that complements the actual combat and gets you into the fiction.
Yeah, exactly. It has to do justice to the premise as well, right? The whole idea is that you're running this mercenary crew. Right now, you maybe wouldn't know that, but
nah, they're just
that's what your Steamhounds are supposed to be.
Yeah.
Make you actually experience that through the single player, and also some of the higher level like multiplayer progression stuff.
Yeah,
which we've also kind of got some ideas for.
Yeah, I think the thing that we've learned throughout the development of the game is probably patience, or at least I have learned it, because since none of us are working on this full time, and this is, I would say, for every one of us, this is our first actual like pretty large project, I would say.
Yeah.
It's been a learning process, and we've all learned about all the different areas of game development and design and business and everything, and it's been eye-opening, but we've learned a lot, and I think we've made some decent decisions along the way. But that stuff takes time because we all have day jobs. We all do stuff. This is on our own time, and I think we should be pretty proud of what we've got so far, especially with what's going to be happening relatively soon with this game.
Yeah.
Yeah, at some point we'll have to do some retrospective of visually where this game has gone. I remember when we had gosh, what was it? What were the sprites from? Was it from a One Piece fighting game
It was.
or something?
Yeah.
We had some One Piece sprites, and that was interesting because we had that, and then we had what was it, 1 or 2 character sprites from someone who kind of disappeared. That was before my time on the project.
Yeah.
Then we eventually found these assets. I think we attempted to contact the person who made these assets and be like, "Hey, can you make more?" And then they just never responded.
Yeah, that never panned out either.
I'm happy that it didn't pan out because
Yeah, I feel like we've got more of our own
yeah,
identity and style now.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
Ed, Brady and Pryor, and when it all comes together, like right now you can see very little of it.
yeah,
Except on our Twitter feed. That's pretty much where that stuff
yeah.
lives right now, but it's all being plugged in on the back end.
Yep. So yeah, we want to do like a big reveal of everything in context. So that's when patience needs to be the virtue at this point, because otherwise, it won't have the same effect if we like start implementing one character at a time, and then it gets a little incongruous looking at times. So
Yeah, they're actually larger, or at least they're like more detailed than the sprites we see now.
Yep.
Slightly, like 25% larger, maybe. Something like that.
Yeah, in terms of number of frames, I'm pretty sure they've got more frames, right? Is that
Oh, they're
true?
insane. They are
Yeah.
absolutely insane if you look at Brady's sprite sheet.
Well, I mean, not just like in terms of the sprite, like the number of sprites, but like the number of like animation frames per second kind of stuff. Like, I believe they're a lot smoother, right? Or at least they feel like it. Yeah, the new sprites look phenomenal regardless.
They're
yeah.
they're definitely smoother. Like you look at the breathing animations, they're kind of chunky. I actually quite like the style of our current.
Yeah, it's nice, but
they're definitely more fluid. Lots of fluid stuff going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's twice the frame rate as well.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I was gonna say, like, I'm pretty sure there's a lot more frames going on per second there, because there's some real. I'm thinking of things like the Warriors like cape and stuff like that, and the fluidity of that is really, really nice looking. All right. Maliv taking it away there. Been doing pretty good there.
Yeah.
Unfortunately got into the situation of getting knocked out with focus on one of the characters. That's always
yeah.
It's a
Also,
difficult situation.
Maliv would not let Fen really target the engineer. Like the engineer was pretty tucked away there. So yeah.
Yeah, that's what can happen. But yeah. Good job, everybody.
Cool.
All right, who wants to get in there now? I'm pretty sure we've got Warwick's in there.
Anyone else lurking around? You're welcome to.
Any other lurkers
Jump in.
are welcome to throw their hat in the ring.
Cool. Looks like Works is here.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, the terrain layer of strategy is very good. I think it's added a lot to the game. Yeah, we were originally messing around with just like knocking off entire rows and columns and stuff. I'm like, there's got to be like something in between just making tiles inaccessible that's more interesting than found it. So
Okay, who's gonna take on Works?
yeah, it works. If you want to throw the challenge, the dual link to the into the chat here, someone can grab that. While we're doing that, Jason, how did your chess stream go?
Oh, pretty good. Except my connection was dodgy
Oh
again.
no.
So Twitch chopped it up into like 5 different streams. But no, we're pretty nice. Like we now have everything's functional except it doesn't detect like check, so it doesn't know when the game's ended. But you can
Okay.
play and move all the pieces around, and it's got a bit of UI. So
Okay.
I
Okay.
think I
Cool.
threw a GIF into the Discord, but that's
Yes.
coming along. Probably one more stream, and that will be fully playable. And I'm not sure how long it will take me to integrate it with Twitch chat. I may be able to do that next stream as well, but
Interesting. Okay.
it's actually taken me a little longer than I expected. I'd kind of foolishly hoped to have the complete game sorted in like 2 hours, but
It's good to have goals, you know.
yeah.
Malieve, do you wanna go up against Works there? Just so we can get another battle on. I mean, if Fed wants to hop into Works, that's against Works, that's fine too. Whoever wants to get in there. The yeah, your chess stream development reminded me of when I was in college. I had to program Knight's Tour, and I remember tearing my hair out trying to figure out how that worked. Are you familiar with the Knight's Tour programming? It's not really an algorithm, is it?
It's like a puzzle, I guess. Yeah.
It's kind of like a puzzle. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah, I'm kind of.
Yeah, it's like you have to figure
Sorry,
out
have I?
how. Oh, game is updating. Okay, cool. Yeah, we can wait for you.
Hey, sorry. I think I lost you there.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I hope it's not me.
No, it's 100% me.
Okay. No, I was asking you if you were familiar with Knight's Tour, like if you know, like.
Yeah, so it's like you have a knight and you have to visit every square on the board, right?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
I remember like I was a freshman, and I'm just like, I don't know what I'm doing, and like now it's like it seems almost trivial, like.
Yeah. I
Did
mean,
that
it's
have to do with? Was that like one of the first ways that you can implement recursion? To check to like kind of like paths and stuff like that. Or...
yeah, that's a perfect case for using that because it's basically like a graph search is kind of
Yeah.
what it is, which is always recursion is always very, very convenient for those cases.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember some people doing it not recursively. There was some, I don't know what they did, but I don't know if they got like the actual how would I say it? The aim of the of the challenge or whatever. Like I think there's other ways you could do it, but I don't. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of designed to be like a problem that's easy to solve in a certain way. There's probably a more efficient way to do it, but
Yeah, there might be. This also reminds me of my most recent foray into recursive stuff, and I that's when I stopped doing my coding stuff again. uh,
So, okay, question for me. Do I use recursion for AI coding? I mean, in general, you do, because you can think of all the possible moves you can make as forming like a tree expanding out. You know, if I do this move and then they do that move. And the way the most traditional AI works is something called minimax algorithm, which is basically if I do this move and then the opponent does the best reply and then I do the best reply to that, do I end up winning or not?
Yeah.
You tend to use recursion for that. Although for Steamhounds right now, we actually don't. So the AI doesn't really look ahead. It just tries to do something that provides some benefit, like right now, to it. It's kind of like how in chess, a perfect AI would just look at every possible move all the way down the chain until the end of the game.
Yep.
But it's actually, you can't do that, right? Because there are too many possible moves. So what you actually have to do is just, it needs a way of looking at the board and giving it a score to somehow score to say, oh, this is white's winning or black's winning. So it will sort of consider a few moves ahead and then sort of look at the score and make its choices based upon that. So Steamhounds works more like that, except it's only looking like one move ahead, if that makes sense. So it's like if I'm guarding an ally, then that's worth some points, and you know, the lower their health is, like the more points that's worth, that kind of thing. Or if my other option is to like damage my opponent, then how much I would damage them, or whether that would knock them out and stuff, like affects that score. So it's kind of
Yeah.
just an immediate like scoring, which tries to factor in dealing damage or healing or protecting or like oppressing or you know,
Exerting area control, kind of.
yeah,
They
yeah,
do
it's
they do the same thing in chess. There's different pieces that are kind of like worth more or less points depending on the game state and stuff like that.
mhm.
So
Yeah, so yeah, it's exactly like that. That's probably all going to change. Like I'm planning to kind of redo a lot of the AI stuff as, again for single player.
yeah.
So okay, basically you look at every stance you can do, and then you look at every position you can move to, and then there are every other thing in the game can affect that score. Like if there's a trap on a tile, then it's worth like minus 1,000 points, like right off the bat. Right? If you're in the range of Berserker's tunnel vision, then that's also like worth some like negative points. Whereas if you're next to your character who has healing aura, then that like increases the points. Maybe depending on how damaged you are. So it's every stance which is active and every like terrain object on the board sort of has an effect on its the tiles around it, if that makes sense. Which will either like attract or like repel
Yeah.
teammates or enemies, sort of thing. If that makes sense. So it's kind of it's very like arbitrary or kind of hand scored, I guess. So you definitely tweak all the scores for these kind of things. And that's just programmed into the moves, right? Like healing aura gives a certain number of points to the neighboring tiles, or falling debris gives us, has a certain number of negative points, that sort of stuff. And then you just add up all of those factors that are affecting any given tile you could move to, and that gives it its score.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting in terms of programming that AI to behave at a level that is appropriate for the difficulty single player.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, that's this is both quite a complicated way to do it, and maybe not a particularly good way to do it. And I may end up switching to something where it really does just like simulate the outcome of the moves it could take,
Okay.
and then just looks at that basically.
Interesting. I wonder if like how would you fine tune that? Like, would you do like a fudge factor or not a fudge factor, but like, can you limit the AI and be like, oh, this AI only looks like one turn ahead, or that makes it like an easy mode or something, or this AI will look like 5 moves ahead or something like that to figure out like the best path to that? Or is it something where you can randomize the, I guess, like the relative power of doing certain moves over
Yeah.
others, and in order to mess up the AI, you can like randomize it slightly so it's not always true what it sees as like the most efficient way to do things. Like,
Yeah, exactly. Like probably you can do all of those things, right? So you can so you have all the possible moves you could make, and you kind of have a score for each of them.
yeah.
So you could always just pick the best one, or you could have a bit of randomness in which one you pick. So that's one way to make the AI not so good. Often this is what you tend to see in like chess bots. AI is
Okay.
they'll play really well, but they'll just make random, like totally unrealistic mistakes occasionally.
Sure.
And that's
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
they moderate the difficulty. Yeah, and the other factor is how much like look ahead power they have.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you could probably also like, yeah, fudge the scores so maybe a certain character weighs like damaging their opponents more than healing their allies, or
Okay.
something like that to make them
You
more
have
or less
like,
aggressive or something.
okay, sure. Yeah, it's interesting like having like abstract ideas about like personalities of AIs and stuff like that for combat, how that actually boils down in animation to
Yeah,
give that illusion of a real player, an illusion of a player that, you know, is strong in some aspects but also doesn't make the most perfect plays in other aspects of the game. So that's always, it's kind of fascinating where you're not trying to make the best AI possible who's
mm,
most efficient at everything. You're trying to make something believable
yeah,
for whatever difficulty level that you decide to have a player play at.
yeah. Because in certain games, making a perfect AI is actually pretty easy, and
Okay.
it's making it, like you think of like aim bots, anything that's like a skill
Sure.
game.
Yeah.
For the most part, you can make the AI just completely ace it, like anything that's Twitch based.
Sure. Yeah, definitely.
So it's mostly the AI is mostly about making them not act on perfect information, or
Gotcha.
because the computer knows everything, right? But you have to fake that it wouldn't actually know certain things.
Yeah, that's funny. It a little bit reminds me of I recently watched a Mirror's Edge speedrun, and they were talking about the AI for there's opposing characters that you're running away from usually in Mirror's Edge, and sorry, I just saw Warwick say something about being there's a bug somewhere, and I want to know what you're talking about, Warwick. Where's the bug at? Let us know. You've got. All right, so you've used delay turn to go after engineer, yeah? Yeah, he's at least on our thing it looks like if you're looking at the stream, I still see Totem going after NG. Oh, did you see the other NG on there? Okay. All right, we're good, I think. But going back to the Mirror's Edge enemy AI, because they can like shoot you and stuff like that. They did a thing where apparently, because I was watching a speedrun, and apparently if you don't actually look at the enemies, their accuracy is worse.
Oh,
So if you can see an enemy on screen, then they have good accuracy, because the idea for the game was like, if you can see an enemy on the screen, a player will be able to strategize about how to get out of their field of vision / like, you know, get like a pillar in between them so they can't shoot them or whatever. But if they're getting shot at by someone that they can't see, it feels really bad to like die from that.
Yeah.
So they kind of did like a bit of fudging where the enemies have way worse accuracy if you're not looking at them. So they use that in the speedrun, and they just like they'll like look at a wall or they'll look at the ground or something and just like go and like very consciously look in different ways that enemies don't appear on screen. Yeah, it's very interesting how
So
they did that.
I guess the expectation is you like notice you're being shot at, and then you look around and see who's shooting you, and then
Yeah.
you try and evade it. Yeah, I've heard there's a lot of things as well where they'll always miss the first shot, like snipers and so on.
Oh wow. Okay, so they can kind of like give you a warning first and be like,
Yeah.
oh, it's coming from there. Let's not do that.
Yeah, I love that kind of stuff in speedruns. That's
Yeah, speedrunning is cool because it's not always about you know, going through invisible walls and stuff like that. It's also about using just like everything to your advantage, including like AI and all that kind of stuff. I haven't been doing it very much lately, but there was relatively recently a discovery for the pod racing speedrun community, and which basically had to do with using the AI to load in parts of tracks, because all the tracks aren't always like the entire track isn't always loaded in at 100% of the time. So apparently, there is some like crazy. There's some crazy like out of bounds skips that you could do, that technically allowed you to go into different areas of the map. But the problem was none of those areas of the map were loaded because no characters were there, and it wouldn't load in time once you like got your pod racer into that zone. And so there was a discovery that in certain maps, if you're going fast enough, the computer AI pod racers would be in a certain zone at a certain time, so you could re-enter the out of bounds at that particular place if the computer's AI's racers were in that zone. But that was very difficult to figure out, and I don't think it's run safe at all. Like, I don't think it's marathon safe. Like, it's a very, very difficult thing to manipulate. So it's interesting because, like, technically you can do stuff with like a tool assisted speedrun, but sometimes it's not 100% like human reproducible. But as we've been shown time and time again, some things that were thought impossible for humans to actually do in speedruns, they've been proven to actually do them once like the community gets up to a certain skill level. It's especially like whenever people talk about like, oh, this is like they have to do like 3 frame perfect jumps in a row, and like, you know, probably whatever game, it's like usually Mario games that have to do stuff like that. It's you know, sometimes it's like, oh, that's impossible. No one's ever going to be able to do that, and then eventually someone does it, and then eventually other people are like, oh, if they did it, I can hopefully do that, and then more and more people are able to do these crazy frame perfect tricks like with a high level of accuracy. So
yeah. I always wondered with these like frame perfect things. As far as I understand it, like older consoles were much more. They generally had a completely locked like frame rate, whereas newer stuff is a bit more flexible. Is it harder to do that on certain modern games because the frame rate's not so like totally consistent?
Well, if you think back to the NES days, those frame rates are not always consistent. It really depends on the game. Like Nintendo 64, thinking about like Mario 64, there were some areas of that game that had terrible lag. Especially with the underwater levels and stuff like that. There's areas of that speedrun where they have to be conscious to look in certain directions. So because of how much lag that it'll create, thankfully there's no like frame perfect tricks that they have to do underwater. But that I wouldn't say that older games are 100% always more frame reliable.
Okay, yeah, I guess they can still skip
Yeah, they can skip
Right.
frames and they can do stuff like that. In newer games, depending on the platform, like for PC for newer games, generally in speedrunning, there's a rule about like, oh, you have to cap this game at 60 frames per second,
Mm.
because otherwise it would make things either just way too impossible to get a frame perfect trick, or it would be, like really high frame rates could make the game behave in ways that wasn't intended. Basically,
Yeah.
that's kind of like the struggles with some of the older games that you're trying to run on newer PCs. Like some of the, some variables are hooked into the frame rate. So especially stuff that have to do with physics,
Yeah.
and that's where things can go completely off the rails. Um, so there's from personal experience with the racing game that I speedrun, traction is linked to frame rate.
Yeah.
So you can do like
Yeah.
power slides in that game, and if you have high enough frame rate, the power slides do literally nothing. Like it doesn't actually do anything noticeable. So like I cap mine at 60, but at that frame rate, the power slides are not very effective. But there are some people who play the game at like 30 frames per second, 24 frames per second, and then that stuff actually behaves as planned, because they also programmed that game for like Nintendo 64, which had a much lower frame rate, and they probably just copied some code, or whatever premise that they were like, whatever algorithm they were doing, they kind of just based it off that, which Nintendo 64 had lower frame rate, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
Also at the time,
certain
yeah.
stuff like friction type stuff is way easier to. It's kind of fiddly to make it work at any frame rate.
Frame rate independent
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah. I'm sure you'd probably just have to do some delta time, right?
Yeah, like the math is harder, I think. Like if you're
Yeah.
moving at a certain rate, you can use the delta time to do that. But like damping or friction is often like, oh, I'll just like multiply the speed by 90% each frame. It's a very convenient way to like get that smooth like slowdown.
Yeah.
But to get the same, but it's like it's a curved line basically. And so to get that to work out exactly the same at different frame rates is like a little bit trickier. Well, you have to do some math anyway, a bit of calculus-y type stuff, which I avoid if I can help it.
I do have to say that the trap on the speed boost tile right now looks like the Smash Brothers logo, a little bit from the angle, because it like the middle cross is not quite in the center of the thing, so. But yeah, to go back to what we were talking about, generally nowadays, there's like an agreed upon, like, okay, in order for your speedrun to be legal, you have to cap your frame rate at, 60 frames per second or whatever. Or in some of them, like, I'm pretty sure in a couple of Dark Souls runs, as part of the speedrun, you're allowed to use programs to change your frame rate on the fly. So I think there's some like out of bounds skips where you have to like reduce your frame rate really low or something like that, to make it easier to do certain tricks. It all depends on what the community says is appropriate, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like if you're doing like, oh, this is gonna be brutal. See ya, warrior.
Ouch.
Maliv really cleaning up today. Although there's a couple characters on Maliv's side there that are not looking so hot. Both players have effectively locked out that center tile. So,
Do you think it would have been worth a focus there? I don't know.
ooh, don't know. That's a tough decision. Well, actually, you know what, Jason? That might have been a good move because Orcs would have been able to at least knock out the Engineer, if not also Totem. Or sorry, not Totem. Shio, because Shio had 3 stacks of fatigue on.
Mm.
So I think that might have been pretty good at that point.
Although I guess Engi's going down. So
yeah.
I think it's 2 turns in a row now. Well, depending
yeah. I wonder if the pressure release is going to be able to do enough damage to do 16, depending on Shio's defense stat. Like the defense stat, the elemental defense stat is doing plus 40% more damage over a normal pressure release. So this might actually do it right here. But we're not doing that. However, that definitely worked in Warwick's advantage, so this match definitely got a lot closer. Oh, wow. All right, here we go. See, next level plays here. What do the developers know? Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Going for the pressure release straight up.
Yep. Although, there's always, you know, a full health ranger at the very end there with evasive stance up and all that kind of stuff. Wasn't quite in the cards there. That would have helped a little bit, but this is gonna be this will be the end for Totem here. Easy 6 damage, no problem. Good match though, definitely.
Yeah. You know, I really want that like rewind and start playing this point feature.
Yeah, I mean, could be a thing. We could do that at some point, you know.
The little totem that could, yeah.
Valiant effort at the very end.
Yeah, that was a pretty good one. Okay, who's up next?
Ben, I think you should get in there again. You did so well before.
Phenomorix? Should we see that?
Ben, I believe in you. We're all just messing around today anyway. It's not like this is a tournament or anything, so you could do it, Ben. I will say you did very well for not playing the game very recently. With the addition of like all the terrain stuff, that's like a whole another level of things to think about. So.
Yeah, I mean that was a good move. I feel like.
No, it definitely is. Yeah. Yeah, more brains than the Berserker has, so. I'm so hyped for the new Berserker sprites. They're so good. I'm really happy.
And they're a bit of a diversion from some of the... They're very steampunk, shall we say.
Yeah, sure. There's very steampunk elements to this character. Yeah, it's definitely a diversion from, I would say, the standard frame of the other characters that we have. Definitely a different starting point, I would say. But that's the whole idea, though. You want different characters with different silhouettes so that they're definitely like immediately identifiable. So when we're making new characters and stuff like that, that's definitely something that we should focus on, is having, you know, unique silhouettes, things that stand out.
Yeah. I mean, I think the only character who's relatively heavily inspired by the original sprite is probably the Ranger.
Yes, that's true.
I mean, they're a cool gunslinger girl with an awesome hat. You know what I mean? You know,
Yeah,
that's been carried over. All of the rest of them are pretty different.
Yeah, it's a I would say the new Ranger sprite is a decidedly steampunk slash, I don't know, kind of western-y inspired. I don't know.
Piratey, I get a piratey
She's got
vibe.
some pirate. Yeah, she's got some pirate stuff going on. Definitely a character with some flair. Definitely a character with some flair. So I do like the sky pirate vibe that we've got going on for that character. Yeah. she got a big I would say
She's
yeah,
fabulous. Yeah.
she's got some good energy. She's got some real good energy going. A welcome addition. Yeah, definitely the bobble hair.
Oh, I love the hair. It's so
Yeah,
good.
that really makes the sprite, I would say. That makes the character. That really changes up their silhouette as well. Because they've got that big hair going on. Oh man. Hair is always like a difficult thing to do with like pixel art stuff because, you know, you have to make it like behave appropriately, so. Nah, she's good. She's good. I can't wait until we get more art of all these characters out there.
Life goal achieved, Fen.
Oh god. I wasn't paying attention to chat for a second and then I saw that. Oh, do you got the link in the where's that link? Where's the link at? Oh, did it? Oh, something's happening. It's getting blocked.
Oh, that's what that is.
That's why that's happening. God. Yeah, do we want to turn that off? We had turned off links in chat at one point because of spam and such. Yeah.
Oh yeah, sorry, Max. I wondered what that was.
Yeah, I was wondering what was going on with that. I'm like, is that a new thing? Is 3 stars, 3 asterisks a thing?
Yeah, we get
pretty... links in Twitch not necessarily a great thing usually.
We get pretty regular spam bots from
I don't know, man. Just you be you. I didn't know what was going on, so if you want to self-censor yourself, that's fine. Feel free. But
okay, cool. It's been dropped into the
it's in the tournament chat right now. So Fen, if you wanna get in there. You know, the other thing that I thought it could be is like some kind of like non-supported like Franker Z style like emote plugin thing that wasn't behaving correctly on my side. I don't know. It could be anything at this point. I don't pretend to know exactly how a lot of these plugins work, so. All right, sweet. I think we're about ready to go. Time for spectate. Although I will say, like, as of like compared to 6 months ago, this stream is so smooth compared to how when we were first starting this and knew how none of this worked at all.
Yeah, I mean, also we were trying to run tournaments, and that always got complicated.
Oh gosh, yeah, that was definitely a huge thing. I like the tournaments personally, but yeah, that was always like trying to figure out like who's ready to go and what to show and which battle to switch to, and then the way that we had things at the time, it would like rehash like the entire beginning of the fight and stuff like that at like light speed.
Yeah,
and commenting that was was a challenge. Not impossible, but was a challenge. So. Yeah, Fen, we're gonna have to get you a nice sprite in there. Oh man, Fen, your current icon reminds me a little bit of something the Berserker would do. The new sprite of the Berserker. It's a I just want like a reskin of that with the actual new Berserker in there. I appreciate it, Malieve. We'll what we're hoping is that there's once we do like a big reveal of all of our new like assets and stuff like that, there'll be some like renewed interest in people doing tournaments and stuff like that. So hopefully we get an influx of people and then, you know, kind of try to ride that wave for a little while. That's the idea. Relatively simple battlefield we got here. Just one speed boost on either side. However, the battlefield is going to get a little bit more cluttered due to Totem getting placed down.
Yep, both sides decided to go for Totem.
I think perhaps at some point we're going to have to relook at Bolt's toolkit, because I'm not sure if anybody's really mastered that character quite yet. I don't know if it's a problem with their effectiveness or if it just needs some more time to you know, for people to realize how they work. So
I mean, the shock can definitely be pretty powerful.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like we've had instances where the character from Beyond the Grave can do quite a lot of damage and can actually swing how some fights turn out. But
yeah, Works has a really good point. There are some cases where we should probably have an extra type of indicator, which is like, if you do this,
you'll get shocked.
You're going to get damaged, yeah.
I wonder how to show that. That's interesting.
Same with bleed as well. Like, I kind of forget about bleed, which is the one where if you stay put, then you shake off the effect.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, we'll have to figure out how to do that. That's also a UI kind of issue. So
yeah, the electricity animation is something we actually had something like that for one of Engineer's old.
Oh, that's true. I wonder if it can just be like something that's on them, and if they have multiple status effects that we want to show via that effect, it can kind of like cycle through that every few seconds, kind of.
Yeah, like there's probably it's kind of the effects which are going to really affect your decision making or have a risk of like hurting you if you do something. I feel like those are the ones which, because we've kind of shied away from trying to have a on the character visual representation of every status effect, because
it can get cluttered and complicated and too much sometimes. Yeah, considering how many status effects characters can truly have, yet to be.
Yep. We also have on the cards is a kind of rework of the little damage number previews, so maybe that can be part of that, like stuff which is going to damage you.
Have we heard the new music track today yet in battle? I'm trying to remember.
I'm not sure. I have to have your stream muted because I'm on a call with you at the same time. So.
Okay, yeah, that does work. Yeah. I wonder if that could be another option at some point to select what music you want to have in the battle.
In the rotation, yeah.
Yeah, that could be something that we could look into. Now that we actually have like a few choices.
So this is looking pretty interesting. Works has been ground down a little bit.
Yeah, damage has been spread throughout most of the characters right now. So everyone's kind of poking at everyone, trying to figure out where the weak link is.
Mm.
No one's really made too much headway as of yet. Some very defensive formations here so far. I think what's really going to make the difference in this fight is since the fight is a little bit slower, I think maybe someone going for focus might, you know, make or break strategy.
Yep.
However, I will say that Ben definitely has a couple of characters that are more, how do I say this? More like long-term focus characters. Like Totem is definitely a more long-term character where, you know, the more turns their totem is up, the more damage and the more utility they're going to get out of that. The same thing with Bolt. Bolt really benefits from long fights.
Yep.
Just doing a lot of damage over time. So, you know, depending on how long those characters survive and how much they are defended is going to make a big difference.
Yeah. So I wonder if focusing now with Totem and jumping onto the heal would make sense.
Yeah, it could definitely help. But it looks like Fen is going to try to wear down the Berserker as much as possible right now. And thankfully for Fen can also jump into a different tile right after that pretty soon. Because, you know, Totem's just such a quick character that they can do that.
Yeah.
Also nice having multiple turns in a row kind of helps out a little bit in terms of kind of forming a strategy, giving you a little bit of breathing room so you don't always have to be completely defended entirely all the time, like constantly. You can afford to have a little bit of a open space there. Oof. A lot of combos going in there, but Fen definitely attempting to get as much damage in on that Berserker as possible early. So definitely paid a little bit of a price there, because the Berserker is definitely well defended as of right now. But if the Berserker can actually, you know, kick the bucket on that tile, that'll put Warwick's at a disadvantage for a little bit. So yeah, Fen just has to do a little bit more damage to that Berserker, and that'll cause an issue.
Yep. Steam is gonna take care of that for them, most likely.
Yep, Steam will definitely do that, especially since, you know, the Berserker has such a low defense stat for elemental damage. I
see Malieve just dumped a load of ideas for status effect visuals. No, these are great. We definitely should do some of these. Yeah, things like having the totem look different based on which stance is active. I mean, honestly, it's just a case of we threw it in there as a prototype. I mean, that's why they just have random letters floating above their heads.
That's why they have like random stuff. Yeah, it's not. Definitely, we want there to be as much like visual language going on, like you know, letting people know what the current state of the battle is, even if they're not looking exactly at you know, the icons for the stances, which are very important. But being able to tell what's kind of going on just by looking at the battlefield helps out immensely. Speaking of characters being knocked out on the speed tile, Shio's in a little bit of trouble right now.
Yep. Bolt's also looking kind of shaky there.
Yeah, another health drop has not dropped for Fen quite yet, but we should be able to get there pretty soon, I think. Definitely looking at either Shio or Bolt to pick that one up, probably. They're kind of on the cusp of getting one shot right now. But it looks like Bolt is probably not going to make it, I think. Yep, that'll do it. So we're looking at Shio to try to get that health, and it does spawn in time, so that'll help out for a little while.
Wow.
I was gonna say if Bolt survived that, there could be some shenanigans with delaying turn in order to get that to spawn in time. But the problem with that is that, that the stance that Totem currently has would continuously do damage to whatever characters are in that row. So that would be a difficult decision. Yeah, that Sentinel stance really kind of messing up Fen's strategy right now. There are definite things that Shio can still do without doing that, but Fen has a couple of seconds left on this timer. Hopefully.
Ooh, tough decisions.
Oh, something's happening. I think we did get timed out here.
No.
Now, Fen, I want to know if you actually saw that turn timer. If you didn't, because we have had issues with that turn timer not showing up on people's stuff. So. Oh no, Orgs, what's it? you might be able to walk away with this one.
No. It was going so well.
It was going so well. It was actually relatively close there. Speak to me, Fen. What happened there? Well, once you're done with your turn.
I wonder if timing out the first turn could have been intentional. Although, what else is in Totem's toolkit that they might be used?
Oh no, Shio could have healed Totem. Shio
right.
could have healed Totem for 10, so that is definitely within their toolkit to get ahead. Oh, okay. Fair enough. Oh, wait, it wouldn't let you heal? Or did you try to heal self? Oh, yeah, you can't target self, unfortunately. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, self-heal would be a little bit overpowered, I think, on a high defense character, so.
You got more questions from Malieve. Let's Malieve, paste that into the Twitch chat. Let's talk about that.
Yeah. I only have I only have the Twitch chat up right now. Yeah, get that in there. Short answer, yes. Long answer, like that is something that we've been actively like cognizant of. Long answer, I don't know. I don't remember which characters exactly we were like. This is a conversation that we've had with our artist and on the team and stuff like that, and we wanted to make sure that there was some representation there. Especially like, yeah, with I would say like the world itself is not like, this is not Earth and stuff like that. So I'm gonna like lump all this stuff together, and we wanted there to be representation for, you know, different skin tones and like races, ethnicities, etc., 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 as well as, you know, people's gender identity and etc., etc. So whether or not that's gonna show up in this story is another conversation, because I don't think there's gonna be individual missions that have to do with the background of the characters. That could be something, definitely, depending on how you like add different characters to your team and stuff like that. But yeah, we've definitely talked a lot about, like, you know, we want to make sure that we represent as many different kinds of, you know, different backgrounds and different identities as possible with this game.
Yeah.
So
I think in terms of like different like cultural and like ethnic backgrounds, it's like, yeah, it's not the real world. So we're trying to have diversity, but we're not necessarily trying to directly represent any particular like real world cultures, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's like the game, like the city itself in this game is supposed to be like a melting pot of different areas and stuff like that. So that's represented in the music, and that also should be represented in like the visuals of the game, and also for the design of the characters. So we want to be consistent with that. So that's definitely part of it.
Yep. And we obviously have we're not all a team of white dudes
No,
or,
no.
straight guys. So
Yeah,
we
exactly.
we want to we want everyone involved to have a little piece of themselves in there in
Yeah,
various ways, and to give
it's
people
yeah.
places to do that. And
It's nice
that's
to
things
feel
that people
represented.
care about. Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice to be represented. You know, I have the privilege of not necessarily having that issue in the video games that I grew up with. But I'd like to think that I have some kind of empathy, and it just seems like a no-brainer that inclusion and in diversity in games is a nice thing to have, especially in a game that you're creating and you have power over that. So we'd like to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's a great question, and I don't mind talking about that either. Like, we're not that kind of team. So yeah, we can definitely talk about stuff like that. On that note, who hasn't come into the fray yet? Paul, you want to get in there? You want to get in there? What I want to see, I want to see a Fen v Paul fight here.
Yeah.
Fen, I know I'm putting you on the spot, and it's been a while since that you fought, but today is your day. You're the spotlight. Gonna put you through your paces, and you're gonna be a Steamhounds champion soon. See, Paul can post the dual link in there because I believe Paul is a moderator. So I'm sorry, Warwicks. We'll fix that at some point. I wonder if there's Jason, I wonder if we can look into Nightbot and see if we can whitelist certain sites, I guess. So
Yeah.
we can like whitelist anything that's like duel.steamhounds or something like that. That would hopefully fix everything. Yeah, you guys can turn the turn time limit off, right? That's something we can do.
Yeah. In the pre-battle bit, you'd be able to do that.
I trust Fed not enough to not abuse that. No BMing infinite turn limits.
Yeah, Warrior was definitely consciously.
Yes. Oh, I do remember that. Yes, that was a conversation. Yeah, let us know when both of you are in there. Switch on over. I'm curious what options you all chose. Are we gonna get an insane fight today? Not quite insane, but definitely three different falling debris is quite a fight too. So I guess 3 falling debris, not debris. Anyway, multiple debris.
It's just debris, isn't it? I think.
Yeah, it is. But I was trying to think of the like debris as a unit is like one thing, and I don't know. My brain was going in different places. Yeah, speaking of like the character's pronouns and stuff like that, in the character select, there's a spot in the UI, whatchamacallit, in the UI redesign, there's a spot for like a sentence or two about them. and we can definitely, reference that, like, refer to them as, he,
By
she,
their
they,
pronoun,
etc. Yeah, it'll definitely, like, using that kind of context in there is a perfect spot to establish those types of things.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can definitely
There's
work
kind of
that
a
in.
question as well about to what extent the characters are fixed characters versus
Yeah,
letting the player like it, have their own headcanon about them.
yeah.
That's something we haven't like super discussed.
Yeah, it's definitely a conversation to be had about fiction, and like intended and implied things versus kind of like man, how do I say this? Like authorial intent versus like enabling the fandom to envision certain things about certain characters and
I would be down to just call everybody they kind of throughout,
yeah,
because then it lets people, imagine them however they see fit.
yeah. It's an interesting conversation that we'll probably have with some people. We have a couple of writers working with us, and that's definitely a conversation that we can have with them in terms of like what they think is appropriate and most inclusive, etc., etc. So yeah, there's definitely different professionals that can provide feedback on those different topics, and it's good to get people's feedback on that. Man, Fen just focusing up here, looking for an opening. Yeah, Paul also doesn't have a fancy icon yet. We'll get there. We'll all get there at some point. I don't think I have a fancy icon either, so let it be known.
See, I only
Getting
have
in
one
an
because
early army break.
I only
Yeah,
have
sorry.
one because I wanted Brady to like test the art style for the avatars, so I have snuck mine in there.
There you go. That's fine. Which reminds me, I need a new icon for myself on social media because I no longer have hair. So, and my beard is no longer absolutely out of control. So, I need to fix that eventually at some point.
Okay, Andrew, can you try putting a random link and then a dual link into the chat just to see what happens?
Yeah, I can do a random link. Give me a.
Oh yeah, Fen, we can take any of those for you. We can do that. Awesome.
I'm a mod, so I don't know if I can.
Yeah, it should. I just quickly unexempted mods, so we can.
Oh, okay, cool. Let me put something in there. So I think that worked.
Yeah, it should let you do our Twitter link, our Discord link, and any dual link. But everything else should be
I need to have a random one that should be blocked. Hold on.
Yep.
Okay, let's do this one. Hey, there we go. I think I got blocked there, so I think it's working. I'll post in a.
Although it's left it there as far as I can tell.
Oh, really? It's just there? It's just giving me a warning? Oh, there might be an option to have it delete the thing as well, so. We'll figure it out. We'll figure out how Nightbot works.
Yeah, maybe it just warns people. I don't know.
I mean, there's got to be an option where it deletes the message as well, so. I'd be very surprised if there wasn't. Lots of focus going on here. What I like to see. Yeah, we'll look into it, Maleev, and see if we can delete that message and just whitelist a couple of things. Yeah, this fight is all over the place. There's just so much stuff happening right now. I'm not sure.
I mean, Fen's looking pretty sweet health-wise, but Paul's got all that focus.
Yeah, Paul's gonna unleash focus relatively soon, and something's gonna happen unless Ben actually did a very a very, very good move there, locking out the engineer from using focus, very much limiting their damage output. Honestly, it's engineer is going to be very close to even surviving into their natural turn anyway, so. Although I'm a little bit scared of the chemist next turn, so having a vigor potion up as well as focus, that can do some real damage. Ben dropping some secret knowledge about names of abilities. Don't worry about it. Pay no attention.
Yeah, we should probably note that Fen has basically been doing most of the work of like not only reskinning these characters but retheming all of their abilities. So mechanically they'll be the same, but they all have way more consistent themes and about how they work and what weapons they have and what kind of style each character has in terms of how their abilities play out.
I don't know, Maleev. It looks like it looks like that NG might survive. It'll be very close. I'll say that much. Because I believe the NG is only taking 2 damage per round, and with the chemist stance up, that was the deciding factor in allowing that character to just barely survive. Yeah, they can't use focus, so they can do a couple of things, but not nearly. I would say not nearly enough to make you sorry for it.
I mean, arm hook's not going to punish you too badly either right now, so.
That's true. There's a couple of things that Paul could do to. It depends on how spicy Paul is feeling. I think.
Some of the stance icons have vanished. Have they delayed turn? Is that why we're seeing?
Yeah, Paul, did you delay turn with the chemist as well? Is that what's going on here? Ow. Actually. The heal should be still active, right? Yeah, this did disappear.
Ooh, weird.
Yeah, we'll have to mess around with that.
If you hover over the.
I've got nothing.
Oh well, it's their turn now, so I guess it's.
Yeah. In the chat here, the combat log, the chemist still had their stance up, so it was still activating.
And what about the chemist on the right there?
Chemist on the right is.
If you hover over their badge on the right, do you see their?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's.
Yeah, it's happening. So it's just disappeared for some reason. We'll look into that. Thanks for calling that out, though.
Good catch. Yeah.
Speaking of the flame flask, that that definitely started to do some real damage now. Paul has definitely opened up an avenue of attack. Paul has also given themselves an opportunity here to get off one of those fire lance, just barely. Thankfully, Fen does not have much in the way of ranged attack, so it looks like Paul is going to be able to get off at least one fire lance there before they're unable to contribute anymore to this fight. So. Yeah, the heal is really good for just getting the right breakpoints in your health. If you just need like 1 or 2 more points of health, that can really do a lot to change the tide of battle. Yeah, I like the chemist. Chemist has been historically a relatively difficult character to balance. We had the Vigor Potion used to do a lot more damage than it does. We had an issue with the heal not doing quite enough. But I think we've kind of got it into a little bit of a sweet spot here. It's always difficult for a character that doesn't have any immediate forms of damage output. Having to focus up for the Flame Flask. But I think that character definitely has a solid role that has been defined, and they can do more than one thing, which is they can heal, they can, they have some turn manipulation. There's a lot of things going on for that character.
Yeah, I remember we nerfed their vigor a bit, right? Was that one of the last major changes?
It used to do plus 100%, and now what does it do? Plus 75%, I believe. Yeah, which doesn't sound like a lot, but that was ultimately very impactful, considering that the moves that people were using with Vigor Potion did a lot of upfront damage. So it's definitely, that little bit of tweaking helped out a lot. And I think actually the very last thing we did was tweak the amount of heal that the stance did. Because I remember we had it at like 2, and then we had it at 1, and now we kind of have it like it's like either random, like 1 or 2, I believe.
Yep.
And I think that's kind of the sweet spot here.
Yeah. I guess any tiny, we could give them a couple of health points if you want to debuff them slightly. Like that's probably the toolkit is so stable that would probably be the way. If they overall need a buff, that would maybe be the way to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, because like the effectiveness of a character is also defined by how many rounds in the battle they generally last. So if you can tweak that number kind of by giving them more or less health, in like a broad strokes kind of way.
Oh yeah, the healing. You mean the chemist healing patch? Is that what we're calling it?
Oh,
like
the healing patch.
That doesn't see much use.
Yeah, that's true. We've seen it a couple of times, especially in when you're about to get into a 1v1 situation and you use that on the character that would be the last character up. And so they can last a lot longer than another character because they'll, as of what right now, they'll heal like for like 28 or something like that over an additional 3 turns, which is pretty nice. So yeah, I'm okay with, since that character has multiple focus abilities, I'm okay with one of the focus abilities maybe not being used as often, but when it is used, it's pretty impactful. I'm okay with that, but
yeah, a bigger issue is just focus not being used at all, I think. And it might be the case that people just should use it more.
Yeah, I know. It's one of those things that's like, do we call awareness to this? Do we have to like overbuff it to get people's attention, or what's going on? And then after people realize that it's actually really good, we kind of like taper it back off again. But yeah,
this is pretty epic battle so far.
Yeah,
Fenn's really keeping the health up pretty high though.
Yeah, no, that's good. There's a lot of healing going over on Fenn's side there. Between Shio and the chemist, there's a lot of opportunities for keeping people's health up. So it looks like Fenn's just trying to grind them out.
It also looks like specifically. You know what? I think I just realized why that icon's not showing up.
Yeah, what's that?
I bet I didn't rename it from.
Oh no, that's what it is. That's what renaming stuff can break things sometimes. You don't catch absolutely all of them, so. I think we figured it out.
Yeah.
Ooh, that was very impactful right there. That was it's a little bit scary taking 14 damage from falling debris. However, this next move can also be very impactful as well, so there's many things that Fen could do right now with that focus ability, so. Whoa, jeez. Oh, man. Absolutely brutal. So, oof. A lot of stuff going on right there. Fen's in a little bit of a difficult situation because if that warrior goes down, they have a lot of trouble with immediate damage output. And since Paul still has 3 characters up, that's 3 separate attacks that basically need to be made at least. Because there's no... Well, there is some AoE left on the warrior, but that's a focus ability as well. So
Yeah.
this is basically an issue of... how would I say this? Trying to find there's a correct word for this. It's basically like turn management and like utility of having multiple turns as opposed to one healthy character. So Paul has a lot of turns with his characters, but you know, Fen has some health up, so this is going to be a really close one. It depends on how well Paul uses his characters together before Fen ultimately starts taking them out one by one. Sentinel Stance definitely helping out Fen's Warrior there, though, due to the fact that it kind of limits Bolt's effectiveness of attacking, because if Bolt triggers Sentinel Stance, that's the end for Bolt. So forced to kind of go after the full health chemist there. Probably doesn't feel super great. Yeah, it's definitely a difficult situation. So Fen's going to have to do some stuff relatively soon in order to make a move. And I think that was one of the best things that Fen could have done at that moment, actually. All right, kind of moving out of the way of that falling debris. We'll see if this is going to be enough to potentially knock out Bolt here, and it definitely is. Otherwise, Bolt would have slowly gotten out of range of just one slash, and that would have been very difficult for Fen to come back from. Definitely a very busy tile there with 2 knocked out characters in there. Yeah, this is definitely a tight match. But it looks like Paul is going to be able to do a 1-2 punch here on the warrior. And this should definitely make things a little bit interesting. So between falling debris and what is going to happen right now with the chemist... Yeah, that was the quickest ability that I've ever seen anyone select. That was very quick. Paul knew exactly what he wanted to do there. Yeah, NG is very close. If you had got it down to this 1v1 situation here with the 2 chemists, that would have definitely been in your favor, Fen. But it looks like you're going to have to take a couple of rounds in order to catch back up.
I mean, NG could have been dead a long time ago.
Yep. All right. Ben doing all he can do here. It is the right choice. It's just definitely a choice of whether to stay where they are, take damage now, and it looks like they're going to take damage now. Ben definitely looking to even up the score there. Ooh. Oh no. I don't think we thought we were gonna see that, so we'll see what Paul has in mind for the engineer here. Unfortunately, that tile there is occupied by a slow roasting warrior, so can't quite pull in there to do some extra damage from fire, but I could definitely get in there, you know, a defense break. That'll definitely help out in the long run if Paul is going to be able to get a flame flask in there, do, you know, some decent damage. But depending on how much damage this Flame Flask can do, actually a couple things that Fen could do, but it depends on where the what the breaks are, basically. The last one standing bonus is definitely something to be afraid of. And it looks like... Whew, it looks like this is going to be a close one. Fen's going to have to survive 2 rounds now. Because Fen's going to have to focus up and then throw a Flame Flask out there. Paul is going to have to figure out what the most effective way to deal some damage is, whether that's just straight defense breaks, or if that is going to be some kind of combination of, you know,
the
Fen into the correct area.
The double turn. I think that's it, you know.
I think double turn's going to do it. I think that's going to allow Fen to do it. Here we go. Some decent damage. If there wasn't a double turn, then, well, this might have gone slightly differently, but very close match here. Paul. Paul attempting to go out on his own terms. Not giving Fen the... Fen, no! Oh, no! You took him away from Fen. Fen definitely had that one under control.
GG. That was great. That was a really, really good battle.
That was good, yeah. Oh, man.
Kind of epic. Whew.
All right, cool. All right, we're hitting up about the end of our stream here. What do you think, Jason?
Yeah, should we call it there? I mean, I think that's a great note to end on.
I think so. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. We had some really fun matches today. Some fun stuff. Some good conversations too about the development of the game and kind of the thought process around some of the things that we do, and some of the stuff that we're working on right now as well. So, as always, really, really excited to share with you guys a whole bunch of stuff. But I guess patience is a virtue in some aspects. So, yeah, not quite comfortable giving an actual date for when people can expect to see our big, I guess, visual push get released, but you know, it'll come out eventually. Also, definitely, I mean, if you're here, you will probably get access to builds of this game sooner than the general populace. So if if you're interested in helping us out, especially with how single player works. There will also be a tutorial that is going to be part of that single player experience. So your feedback on that and making sure everything makes sense from, you know, a player's perspective would be super nice. So
100%. So it looks like you're raiding someone at Millie's request here. You cashed in the points. You got it. Let's say hello to Tracy.
All right, sweet. All right, we got 6 raiders here. Yeah, too bad we're not still called Pixel Raiders at that point. It would have been really, really appropriate.
Cool.
Yeah, push that button.
I'm pressing the button. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
All right, later.